And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. I'm Mike Harrison, and yes, I'm always working on your financial freedom. I want to thank you for joining me today. Today I've got a couple of guests on the show, husband and wife, passive investor team. Very excited to speak to both of them from right here in North Texas. They're very involved with Lifestyles Unlimited, networking events, case studies, road trips. Heck, it seems... And I try to go to every event I can, but honestly, it seems every event I go to, Kevin and Selena, you're both there. So yeah, you're always out and about. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Well, you're more than welcome. We really enjoyed going to all the Lifestyles activities, and you know, all our friends are from Lifestyles, and so it's always a pleasure. It's almost like a family reunion every time we get together. It's
a blast. It seems each event gets a lot more fun, especially some of the away from Lifestyles events where Lifestyles folks are congregating, that Friday night thing that we do at the sports bar. Yeah, that sports bar. That's always good to go. As we get started, why don't you share a little bit of background about both of y'all?
So I'm by trade, I'm a nurse and was a nurse, I retired about 5 years ago, and I was a nurse for over 20 years. I worked up on a cardiac unit and had a whole lot of fun doing that, but finally reached a point where I physically couldn't do it anymore. And so we were thankful that we were able to invest, and I was able to retire. And then Kevin, and I'll let him tell you.
So I spent 8 years active duty Air Force and was in the reserve for 16 and retired with 24 years in the United States Air Force. While I was working for the Federal Aviation Administration, doing project management. Enjoyed doing project management for them, and finally got to the point where I was ready to go and started looking at the future and started looking at a way that I can actually create some passive income and take control of my time.
How long ago was that, Kevin, when you were looking for some passive income or something to maybe enhance the ability to retire quicker?
Probably about 10 years ago. You know, we were doing some single family for a while, and, we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We were making all kinds of mistakes, and I just knew that this is not going to get us where we wanted to go. And actually, one of our inspectors for one of our houses had told us that we needed to check out Lifestyles Unlimited. I have a friend, and he's really, doing very well. So I checked into it and, listened to the radio show and went to the 2-day class, and I was very interested, and the rest is history.
Selena, were you involved in the single-family homes, or was that all Kevin's thing?
Oh, no, we were both very involved. We always do anything that we do, we either do it together enthusiastically or we don't do it at all. So we kind of bounce off ideas off of each other, and it's worked rather well.
Well, you two are always together. You're definitely a team. But you know what? The smartest thing was, and I started with single-family houses, I knew I was okay. I didn't know really how bad I was till I took a professional class, right, when Lifestyles Unlimited, the 2-day, and I look back at yourself and you're like, God, I was terrible at single-family ownership. But the smartest thing the two of you, I think, going through this process was to recognize that, hey, we're doing something. It's positive, but we're not doing it very well. So when Kevin found Lifestyles Unlimited, what were your thoughts?
Of course, I was very apprehensive at first, because when we went to the 2-day and we found out that you could invest in multifamily, you start thinking, no, this cannot possibly be true. This is something that has been made up. They're just throwing numbers out there, and so we kept going. We actually waited about 6 months before we jumped into our first investment. We did actually all the training online, and became certified passive investors. And so we did a lot of education, a lot of education. And in fact, I, would talk to a lot of the leads and see if, if they would mentor me and I would spend time with them. And so because I only worked 3 days a week, so I had a lot of time off. Anytime I could go help out anybody, I would. And so I really got into the business and realized that this was actually legitimate and it was something that was working.
Kevin, you had mentioned in the first segment that y'all had owned single-family properties prior to joining Lifestyles. You were smart enough to recognize that you weren't doing a very good job. You wanted to get better. You found Lifestyles. You liked what you heard. You joined. Let me ask you this. Why didn't you go back to single-family homes? You were already doing that aspect rather than jumping into passive investing.
Well, after we went to the 2-day class, we really kind of learned that, yes, you can't get rich slow. So I learned that really what we really needed to do is have passive income. I was working full-time. Selena was working full-time. And it was tough sometimes to try to get everything all together. Taxes were going up. Insurance was going up. And I thought that in the long run, I just wanted to be in multifamily and just get that check in the mail or that ACH deposit into my account and, go the easy route and be able to travel. That's one of the dreams that we've had. And luckily we've had a chance to travel a little bit.
Well, you're very kind. I think what you're thinking in the back of your mind was, well, Mike, I had my hands full with the houses. Now I wanted to do the, there used to be a writer in the Dallas Morning News, and he talked about the couch potato portfolio. I don't know if you remember that back then, but passive investing's a lot like that couch potato portfolio, if I can say the words right, because you talk about literally research the lead. If you like the deal, subscribe to the deal, and then sit back. So it took you all 6 months to invest in that first property. Selena, why was that?
Well, we knew that we did not want to get into something we did not understand. We wanted to understand the process. We wanted to get to know those lead investors, and that very first deal that you do is always the hardest one because signing your check over to somebody for your investment is so difficult. There's just so many uncertainties and so many worries about that. Yeah. And, I had taken my complete 401k out, the entire amount, paid the penalty and the interest.
Did you?
I'm sorry, the penalty and the taxes.
Yeah.
And I paid all of that to invest in that first deal.
Wow. And, good for you.
It was, to go through that process was difficult, but I did it, and it turned out to be an incredible deal. We more than doubled our money in less than 3 years. So that gave us a huge jump start on our little nest egg where we could retire.
What a bold move to do that initially. I ended up doing it, but I wasn't as bold as you. I'm not afraid to say that, and I should have been. It took me about 4 years before I finally said, my gosh, and Dell had told me years before, cash out the IRA, cash out the 401k, and finally I'd had enough success. I'm just like, what are you doing? Yes, pay the penalty, pay the taxes. That was a tough year. It was 6 figures in taxes and penalties. I mean, easily.
It was. I realized back then that the more somebody else had control of my money, they were actually making the financial decisions. And so I knew that I could probably do better once I had known who I was investing with and I understood what I was investing with. I had more control over my money. And now, now that I've paid the taxes and the interest and everything else on it, it literally became my money. It wasn't something that somebody else had their hands on.
Yep. You're not a passenger on some ship. You're the captain of the ship.
Absolutely.
And wow, good to do that right out of the gate. And there's people, I promise you, listening to us right now, and they're going, listen to those folks. They are lunatics, and nothing could be further from the truth. It is our money. Once we pay the obligation, you're not going to get out of the taxes. People, I get emails all the time from people, and they're like, Mike, I don't want to cash it out because of the penalty and the taxes. The penalty's 10%. Okay, the penalty's nothing. You're going to go put it into something that has the ability to double or greater within 2 to 3 years, maybe 4. But 10%, that's a bar tab along the way. The taxes are the taxes. You can't hide from that. So once you kind of mentally come to the conclusion of that, it's a no-brainer. So for the listener, and I don't know the answer to this question, but I can't wait to hear it. How many passive deals are you in now, 10 years later, if we move fast forward?
Currently, we're only in 21. We have friends that are in a double or triple that many deals.
I know those
I
friends.
I don't know how they track them. I don't know how, because I track the financials.
Yeah.
But 21 deals is enough to keep me busy enough.
It is.
And I enjoy looking at the financials. I enjoy understanding what's going on with each property.
Over time, and it has been 10 years, and you've had obviously a lot of properties that have realized and gone full circle. So you're in 21 now. I'm sure there's several that the whole process you've probably been in 30 plus, I'm sure. I'm throwing a number out there. But
yes.
Have you found that now okay, so you like having that kind of number to 21. We also have a mutual friend that used to be in a ton of deals, and what he's done is he's kind of, I guess, fattened his stake per deal, so to speak. You follow me? Where instead of having maybe so much spread out in 50 deals, he's got the same amount invested in 20 deals. Are y'all doing the same thing?
Absolutely. We have a set limit that we put into each deal. And we pretty much try to stick to that number. There's a couple of them that have a larger amount, but I have found over the years that it's far easier to have a smaller, concentrated group of deals than it is to have a whole bunch of smaller deals. It's just easier, it's easier during tax time. It's easier when you get your K-1s just to have a limited number of deals. I think for us, I think the maximum that we're going to have is probably 25 at one time, because then it does become more of a job, and we didn't sign up for that.
No, you're exactly right. In fact, there's a saying around here, and it kind of goes something like, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. And if you're enhancing that lifestyle by creating less work on your end, less tracking, and yes, we do track these, and we've got spreadsheets where we're putting it in. We're following the cash flow. We're following the return. We're following the investment, and we've got to follow it all the way through and pay our taxes on it, gather the K-1s, get our paperwork together for our CPAs and our tax accountants. And so by you thinning that burden on you, it's about the lifestyle. That's a smart move. That's what we talk about all the time. My name is Mike Harrison. We'll be right back on the other side talking passive investing with Kevin and Selena Cook.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
I was at a seminar one time, and a guy was sitting up there, and he was saying, what you really need is the young, aggressive entrepreneur people to go out there and take that money and invest it with them. I walked up to the front of the stage and I said, hey, I'm that guy you're talking about that should be mentoring these people on how to do this. The guy goes, sir, we don't allow solicitation. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm here to tell you I'm exactly the guy you were telling them to look for. And I'm willing to help them for nothing. And the guy goes, if you don't stop soliciting, I'm going to have the security come and get you. And I said, I can see you're a scam. I'll just leave. Everything I said had gone through the intercom. So I walked out of the seminar room, and 200 people followed me. And that's how Lifestyles was started.
Are you ready to get up and follow Dell? Join us today at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the show. I have as guest on the show today, husband and wife, passive investing duo, strong team right here in North Texas, Kevin and Selena Cook. They're passive investors in 21 different multifamily communities. They've invested in over 30 multifamily communities in just 10 short years. They joined in 2013 and freed themselves financially with passive income. Selena, let's go back to the very first investment that you made. You had mentioned it took you 6 months after joining Lifestyles Unlimited. So you joined, you realized there's something there, you realized there's the ability to create passive income. But you took your time doing it, you did your research, and then you finally found a property to invest in. Give us the reasons why you were attracted to that particular property and how did it pan out?
Well, I had met Vivian and Cornell, and they were just the most honest, ethical people you could ever imagine. And I had worked with them personally. They had been mentoring me. And they found a property, and I went and helped with due diligence to look at the property. And they laid out a plan of what they were going to do with this property to make it more profitable. For them, it's not just about going in, buying a property, slapping lipstick on it, making it look pretty, and then selling it. They actually believe in a sense of community. And that's one of the requirements that Kevin and I look at whenever we invest. We want to create affordable, clean housing for people, a place where people could be comfortable and proud to be in. And they had lined out detail by detail what they were going to do, how much money they were going to need to fix up the property, and what they were going to do, and remove certain elements out of the property that were kind of bringing the property down.
Sure.
And so when I heard that plan and how the money was going to be spent and the process, I was very drawn to that. And it took a year. So the first year they did go in there and they fixed up a lot of the units. They cleaned up the community, and it was a beautiful property by the time they finished. They were able to increase the rent because people wanted to live in a property that was clean and attractive. And they did that. They don't put up with any drugs or any, bad people or anybody that's destroying the property. And they operated it very efficiently. And so that is something that has carried over to all our properties. It's not just about the money. It's about creating a sense of community and a place where people can feel comfortable living. And so we've kind of followed that plan with all our properties.
It's a win-win for everybody, and that's how the value's created. That's how essentially the return is created. But you're exactly right. I had the privilege of touring one of Cornell and Vivian's properties, and we talk a lot on here, but this couple exemplifies it. But we talk about taking a, quote, apartment complex and turning it into a community of people, a community of residents that want to live there. Cornell and Vivian set the example as leads of respect for the property, respect for where you live. And because of that, they attract people that want to be there. They want a nice place to live. And the transformation from inside to outside is incredible. You kind of take an old, sad, eyesore, dilapidated, what have you, a property that needs a lot of maintenance, and then they make it just really, it looks good, it feels good. It's clean. Everything works out there. But they do a great job. So that being your first one probably kind of spoiled you for a lot of other properties, I'm thinking. Kevin, why don't you talk a little bit about strategy prior to investing in a potential property?
Probably our biggest strategy is kind of see exactly what areas that we want to invest in. We look for emerging markets. We look for leads that, we either have lunch with them, that, that we know them very, very well. We like the way they function and, their business sense. They're very ethical. They're very caring. A lot of our apartment complexes or communities have, daycare. They have, after-school programs for the school, for the kids, and, soccer programs. So that's one of the things that we would kind of look at is someone that's going to really push back into the community and actually, create a sense of a great place to live.
If you make it a great functional place to live, people aren't going to complain when the rent goes up 200. Basically, it's like this. You're raising my rent 200, but you came in and you put stainless appliances in, you put new carpet in, you painted the walls, you put granite countertops in, you fixed the roofs, you painted the outside of the building, you set up all these programs for the children, the landscaping looks great. You fix the lighting, you put cameras in, and you're doing everything you can to ensure safety. We can't always do that, but at least when the leads are trying, it typically follows that property is better than other properties in that regard. And you raise my rent 200? Sure. Where do I sign up, right? This is a much nicer place. You got rid of the prostitutes and the drug dealers. People will gladly pay $200, $300, $400 more to live in a better place. So that's counterintuitive to what so many people think owning a property is all about. Now, you've been in enough properties now, and you're in enough properties now. Do you diversify geographically, or is there a certain area only where you invest? Talk to me about that.
We actually only invest where the money is green. So basically, no, we don't stick to one geographic area. We like areas that have multiple businesses that are growing in population, and areas where the lead is knowledgeable about that market. So the way that we find out if we want to invest in a market, if it's not local, if it's not here in Texas, we actually go to that area. In fact, Vivian and Cornell, we all went to Atlanta to look at a property that we were considering investing in. And so we did wind up investing in Atlanta because we liked the market, we liked the lead, we liked the team that he already had in place, and we liked what he was planning to do with the property. We also invested in Oklahoma. We've looked at Phoenix. We have properties in Houston. We have properties in Galveston. So, no, we don't stick to one specific area, but we do like to know specifically the market that we're in, and we're not adverse to having, to going to those markets. It actually is not an absolute necessary thing for us to go because we've developed a network of other passives that have invested in the markets that we look at. So if we're interested, say, in the Phoenix market, and if we hadn't been there, we would pick up the phone and talk to our fellow passives that are invested in those areas, and they always tell us, whether they like that market, whether that market has been working. If they're knowledgeable about the lead and the lead's reputation and performance, they talk about it. So passives talk a lot amongst themselves, and it's kind of like an interview process for the lead.
Talk to me about your lifestyle. Talk to me about your travel. How's that changed over the last 10 years?
Oh, my gosh. Well, for us, after we both retired, Kevin retired 2 years ago. And it's wonderful to be able to control your time and be able to decide what you want to do, when you want to do it. We recently had the opportunity to go to Florida and took a cruise from Florida through the Panama Canal and back up and ended in California. We actually traveled for 3 weeks, and we traveled with my brother and sister-in-law, who are also Lifestyles members and who just retired. So,
wow.
Yes, it's given us everything that we could have ever imagined and more.
Isn't life wonderful when you're financially free? So that's fantastic. Well, I would typically right here, I'll ask if you're where you thought you would be today when you started investing in real estate, but it sounds like you may be a lot further along than you had imagined 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, there is no way that I could have looked into my crystal ball and seen what I'm seeing now. Kevin and I are in our mid-50s, and like I said, I've been retired for 5 years. We're living off the distributions that our properties provide. And it has just been absolutely fantastic because it is. The map is there. If you follow it and you understand it and you put forth your effort, it just takes a life of its own.
Someone out there is listening to us right now, and they're saying, I want to be a passive investor. What's your advice for them?
The first thing, by all means, is to attend a case study and then go to the 2-day class. because this is very hard. You have to have a complete mind change about what you've been taught through your life. And I think the best place to start is going through that 2-day class and understanding what they're telling you, that there is another option and there is another roadmap that you can take.
You know, something I learned when I started investing in real estate is that good grades don't guarantee a good retirement. A good college doesn't guarantee a good retirement. A good job doesn't guarantee a good retirement. Investing in a 401k, an IRA, nothing that they tell you to do guarantees a good or a great retirement. But you know what guarantees a good or a great retirement is having enough passive income coming in each and every month that it supersedes all of your obligations. That's what makes a good retirement. And none of that, you're right, has anything to do with grades or school or job or investing. The best they can do, Selena, is basically say, if you start putting money in your 401k and you do 20% of everything you earn, and by the way, you start when you're 20 years old, and 40 years later, they use terms like should and theoretically, and that is no place for retirement. So talk about some challenges along the way. We're seeing the deals have shifted as of late due to the economy and interest rates and that sort of thing. Are you still investing, and share some of what you're looking at now?
Absolutely. So right now, yes, the economy has changed. The financing over the last couple of years was a little bit different than we were used to. And so we do have some properties that have had some variable interest rates that have had some difficulties as the interest rates went up. However, because there's a large group of people that have been talking amongst each other, many of the leads, they're coming up with solutions to get out of these variable interest rate loans into fixed rate loans. And so as somebody finds, an option for a fixed rate loan and how to maneuver to get into that loan, the other properties are doing that. So we are going through a transition period right now of trying to get the variable interest rate properties into fixed. And as we do that, it really does help the property. So again, it's a question of networking and finding people that are smarter than you, that are paving the way and finding ways to do that. We are always looking for properties. Always. We are looking for an opportunity. So we have never stopped doing that. And sometimes we put it on hold because we don't have money, obviously, to invest. You run out of your pot of money. Yeah. But as we sell a property, we absolutely completely deploy that capital, that initial capital that we invested, we redeploy that back into another property. Initially, when we first started, we would have a lump sum that we'd put into the property, and then the distributions would go back into the business. So we would continue to buy more properties with the distributions. However, now that we're retired, we're living off the distributions, but the lump sum that we put into each property, when a property sells, and whatever profit we get from that, we do buy another property. And that's how you just keep doing that. So now we're not taking away from the golden egg. We're just living off the distributions.
Which ensures that essentially the whole cash flow snowball gets bigger, right? If you put $50,000 in a property and it sells 3 years later, and we'll just pick a number, and it's been cash flowing, and you get $75,000 back. So originally you had $50,000 in your portfolio of investments. Now you can put $75,000 back in, and if you've accumulated $25,000 along the way and in your cash flow, you can actually go back in at 100. So you're continuing to grow that side of it. That is such a smart move, and that's how you maintain financial freedom. My name is Mike Harrison. I want you to always remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. Make it a great day. We'll see you next week.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.